Center LSD. You're welcome, sir. Transparency International, Dr. Awal Rafsanjani, please. Sir. Okay, he said he's comfortable where he is, but bear me witness, he was given a front seat. Thank you. Let me not make a very grievous mistake if I do not recognize and invite to the front row the Chairman, Board of Trustees of Resource Justice Network Nigeria, Dr. Mustafa Muhammad, the tallest man in this building. You know, most times when you attend events where Dr. Otive is present, most times he had the privilege of being the tallest man in most of the events. But today, you see?
He's still the tallest man.
No. This life no balance. He's already seated. Mr. Vahala Panga of Budget, the country of budget. You're welcome, sir. Dr. Ika Babalola, Country Director, International Budget Partnership, IBP. Is Dr. Babalola in the house? Okay, we are waiting. You will certainly join us. We also have Fatima Abubakar Doki, the National Coordinator of Persons with Disabilities. She's already seated. Ucha Resuku of Partnership. Are you comfortable where you are? If not, you have a seat, sir. There is a seat for you. Okay. If you would prefer to be there. Okay, let me reserve this before she will sack me from this podium. Let me recognize, even though she's already seated, the National Coordinator, formerly published for to be in Nigeria, but now Resource Justice Network, Nigeria, Dr. Erisa Zakibala. Thank you. Let me also recognize all the national officers of Resource Justice Nigeria. I've seen Professor Helen Bodule. Prof, you're welcome. Thank you, Prof. I have seen Basilika. You are here. I'm recognizing you. I do. The Deputy National Coordinator, he's been running around. He's been here for the past 1 week. Teacher Putunakpan. At least once you see that head shining, once you see the shining head, you recognize him very, very well. So Martins from Southwest, yeah, he's busy here. Martins, you are welcome. Dr. Joseph Kimba. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, any other person? Austin, the technical person. Austin is in the house. Please, yeah. Who? Yes. Well, I don't know who else I have not remembered in this house. Please, we also recognize the Executive Director, Center LSD, soon to be Dr. Monde Osasa. The Global Chair. Sir, you have a seat. I know you may resist, but you have, because I also have that conflict most times. There is a chair here, sir. Don't worry, I know how that thing happens. It's like most times when I go to an event, my boss is there, Faith, and they will call her and they will call me. You know, as you get as it may be. But sometimes there's something they say in Igbo language, Chimeloeze. So if God has elevated you to certain positions, no be our fault. So I am sure we all singing this. That's our sticker and symbol. That's part of what we're going to be launching today. Yes. So Professor Bodonde, once again, I was happy yesterday when your flight was not unduly delayed. Because I didn't want you to come in very late. Welcome. So here we are, and I will hand over the microphone to Princess Ejide, who will proceed with the remaining parts, the introduction, where we'll do self-introductions, then the national anthem, and we'll now move on from there. Thank you very much.
All right, let me also use the podium first. Okay, second now, it's no longer first. My brother has already introduced some people, and there are some people. In fact, there is need for all of us to reintroduce ourselves. Does it make sense? So, let's start. Microphone, you introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Dosa Obiari.
Good morning, all. My name is Adebayo Samson. Good morning, all. Praise the church with my name from Center LS.
As you introduce yourself, use this.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy from here. Let's know who's in the house, please. Tracy from here. You live in your house address.
Okay, from Niger Correctional Service.
Good morning, all. My name is Comrade Choma Atuzie. I'm the organizing secretary for PAN FFC. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Ever. No, tell us your organization.
Oh, okay, it's okay. Yes. My name is Ever, and I'm a businessman. I deal with running time.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Okay. I'm Cynthia Ifwekoba, Executive Director of JESA Initiative. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Mirabel Niger. I'm from Jessa Initiative.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Blessing Anolaba, and I'm representing the Country Director for Accountability Live Nigeria.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Oladile. I work for Initiative for Social Development in Africa, in Niger State.
Good morning, all. My name is Paul Ogu. I work for ISDF Foundation.
Good morning, all. My name is Collins Neo, Youth for Change.
Good morning, all. My name is Onyeka Odige, and I'm representing the Chief Executive Officer of Public and Private Development Center.
Good morning, all. My name is
Good morning, everyone. My name is Agnes Sosa from FDL.
morning, all. My name is Omale. I report for Radio Nigeria.
Good morning, all. My name is Folashade Aronsiola. I'm representing Center for Advocacy and Inclusive Development.
Good morning, all. My name is Ali Salidayo. I work with Budget as Senior Programs Officer. Thank you.
Thank you. While the introduction is going on, the Director Research Planning, Native, just walked in, Dr. Data. Doc, you are welcome to the house.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ajole Enemari from Global Rights.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Patience Subodi, Gender and Social Inclusion Officer at Diva Community Initiative.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chimike Okreke. I'm the Executive Director of African Law Foundation, AFLAW. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Paul Decry Wabutani.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Victor Imejiwe, the Program Manager, Resource Center for Human Rights and Civic Education. Nice.
Good morning, all. I'm Cordelia Chiagozi, the team lead at Edmond Chiagozi Foundation. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Uji Valentine. I work with the People Foundation.
Good morning, all. My name is Linda Abdul. I work with Cross the Abuja.
Good morning. My name is Kiso, a reporter with Economic Footprint.
Okay, while that was going on, another very important person, even all of us here are very important, walked in. That's Barrister Lydia Ode, the Chief of Party Triple C Consulting. For those of us who did a lot of work with Scale, you will immediately recognize her. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Tunde Salman from the Governance Team Nigeria.
Salman reminds me of salmon fish.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Idoko. I work for the Inclusive Friends Association, IFA. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria from Inclusive Friends.
Good morning, my name is Kennedy Shane, and I'm a reporter for the News Agency of Nigeria.
Good morning, everyone. I write for the News Agency of Nigeria. I'm now Sharon.
Antonia Samuel, I'm a bilingual French English protocol specialist.
Good morning, all. I'm Emmanuel Adams from NTA.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I've not introduced myself. A lot of people know me as a journalist, but I am actually the Executive Director BAM for the Bruce Foundation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Princess. Still stay there. The only thing I need to say now is that please, Ladies and gentlemen, for those of us sitting behind, could we please move forward and occupy the seats that are vacant right here, please? Thank you. Please. You know, for the sake of aesthetics and the ambience and our pictures, please, we just have some seats here. Please, could we move forward and occupy these seats here?
All right, as we are doing that, I'll ask the sign language expert to come to the front because we'll need her assistance now, and then the national anthem. Stand up for the national anthem. DJ, are you ready? Okay. Please on your feet. Okay, it seems we are going to sing.
Okay, it's not Swedish.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Don't try that song, in brotherhood we stand. Nigeria's called and proud to serve a sovereign motherland.
Thank you. And it's on that note that I call on for the welcome address. She will tell us why we're here, where we are going, and why you need us with you on this journey. The Executive Director.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my lovely sister. We're all excellencies this morning, so your excellencies, a very beautiful morning to all of you. The Executive Secretary, Native, we're honored and happy to have you here with us. Thank you for joining us today. The Executive Director, I'm sure she's online, International Resource Justice Network. I hope Kay is online. Kay, we're happy to have you this morning. We'll also have, of course, the Senior Regional Coordinator, Resource Justice Network. We're happy to have you online if you're here this morning. And we also have, very important for us, the Executive Director, African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, and then our very own mentor, the masquerade himself, the grandfather of Publish What You Pay in Nigeria. Please let's put our hands together for him. Thank you for making this, and thank you for handing over properly. We're honored to be here standing because you did not let the mantle down. We honor you, sir. Thank you. And of course, the Executive Director, Center for Transparency, and who is in absentia. She's here with us, my very own Faith Wadishi. Want to say, so I think she's online also, but she will join us when she's done what she's doing. I want to also recognize the Executive Director, Center LSD. Sorry, but Chair, Center LSD. I had a protocol with him before you, sorry. And of course, I won't forget my very own national, the board chair, Resource Justice Network, Dr. Mustafa, you're welcome. And of course, my very own sister, the National Coordinator of Persons with Disability. This is for us very important and key because we are moving to inclusion. So thank you for making our time to come. Of course, the Country Director of Budget, thank you for making our time to come. Actually, he's our landlord. So you're welcome, sir. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. Distinguished representative, permits me to also recognize each and every one of you. For want of time, I might not be able to call each and every one of you by name or by your position. But just know that we're so excited to have you here this morning, and we're honored. Thank you for walking the journey with us. Thank you for committing, and thank you for being here this morning. Of course, the media member of press, we appreciate you. We've been on this journey together, and we're happy you're all here with your camera. My colleagues, distinguished partners that are online, we also want to welcome you and say thank you for joining us this morning. I stand before you this morning with great pride, and I want to please allow me to speak to my speech so that I don't get overwhelmed out of excitement to talk from my heart this morning. But believe me, I'm so excited to be the one standing this morning to welcome each and every one of you. And of course, with this sense of purpose, as we mark an important movement in the journey of our coalition, today is both an ending and a new beginning at a time. I was saying we should have the old and the new. Augustine, I'm not having my old and my new, so that we can all attest to how we are moving to be able to have a new beginning at this time. A time for us to reflect on how far we have come, while stepping forward with renewed vision and stronger commitment to the future. Of course, our old banner looks very beautiful and colorful. I'm going to miss our old banner. Please let's put our hands together for our old banner, while we also welcome our new banner as I do this speech this morning. Today, we formally draw the curtains to our over 2 decades of important, impactful work under the published What You Pay in Nigeria, here started by Reverend Ogolo, and proudly begin a new chapter as Resource Justice Network. People, let's put our hands to our new banner. Can I have it here on stage? So today, this is what we are here for, to see that this 2 decades is not in vain. We're happy to have the Resource Justice Network, and I'm so honored and I'm so happy that I'm the one bringing or ushering this new movement. For more than 20 years, under the published What You Pay, we have worked tirelessly to promote transparency and accountability in the Nigerian extractive sector. We supported the institutionalization of NATI, and we're so happy that NATI has never given up on us. We're still here, even as a baby, they have grown, they are now grandparents, they are here. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands for the NATI and its staff. Thank you for being there. Thank you for holding up to the journey. Even though we gave back to you, we're so happy you are well grown and you are now on your own, and we're happy that we raise this, especially the concerns over inconsistency that we have raised in company payment and government receipts, and consistently engaging the stakeholders to ensure that disclosure translates into real actions. Actions that recover lost revenues and prevent future governance failure. Of course, this is what NATI was born to do, and this is what it's doing, and we're so happy about the milestones it has achieved so far. We brought attention to corruption risks, supported recovery efforts that returned millions of dollars in potential missing funds, and contributed to strengthening oversight in the sector. Our work also supported major reforms, including the process that led to the Petroleum Industrial Act of 2021. Of course, most of you are here, and we appreciate you so far for adding your voice and being part of it. While we continue to engage in the ongoing reforms of Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act, we urge you to also don't give up on this. Let's join our efforts together to see this to actualization. Beyond policies and systems, we have helped nurture a culture where citizens are more informed, more engaged, and more willing to question how Nigerian extractive sector is managed. For us, this is what we've been doing in the communities, especially those of us in the grassroots. However, the landscape is changing. Today, natural resource extraction goes beyond revenues. It's now directly affecting community rights, land and water use, environmental sustainability. Of course, we have even the civil spaces.
At the same time, the global climate crisis and the need for a just transition have made our work broader and more urgent. And of course, that is why, and that is what informed us to be able to look at these realities and see how we can shape our global resource justice vision 2030 and are clearly reflected in our own resource justice Nigeria strategic plan, which will be presented shortly today. Nigeria stands at a critical crossroad, deepening its reliance on fossil fuel while navigating uncertain paths towards meeting its climate and energy transition commitments. Communities in oil-producing areas continue to face the consequence of poorly managed transition, while mining communities are increasingly exposed to new risks under weak regulatory system across the country. Subnational governments are dealing with the combined pressure of climate change, resource conflict, insecurity, and economic challenges. It is within this context that our evolution became necessary because we also need to emerge with these issues. So today, we are gathered not only to unveil a new chapter, but also to reflect on the legacy of our journey. We are transiting from which we are now transiting into. This is more than a change of name. It represents a renewed vision and a stronger commitment to advancing resource justice in Nigeria. Resource Justice Network reflects this broader purpose, one that seeks to ensure that the benefits of Nigerian natural resources are shared fairly and sustainably while promoting economic development, social justice, and environmental protection. In practical terms, this means that we have expanded our mandate. And of course, while we will continue to promote transparency, we will also focus on the wider impact of resource extraction on our community rights, the environment, and of course, civil space and governance. We will examine how local decisions connect to the global climate crisis and the energy transition. We will continue to advocate for policy reforms and hold those positions of authority accountable, whether in government or in corporate institutions. We will work to safeguard the safety and strengthen the resilience of individuals and organizations at the front line of this work. We also will prioritize efforts to address climate change by advancing a just and inclusive energy transition. And that's why it's important for us to work with the women's bloc. We are working with people with disability and also the disadvantaged populace around for us to be able to have an inclusive energy transition while promoting responsible resource management. And we also will continue to empower communities, giving them the tools and the platform to participate meaningfully in decisions that affect their lives. This is already evident in initiatives such as our Community Monitors Network, which will soon call you for us to be able to launch this nationally soon, inshallah. We hope that this network will be able to outlive itself in our communities. Our evolution reflects our growth and our belief in collective action. As outlined in our strategic plan, we are shifting towards an ecosystem approach, positioning Resource Justice Network Nigeria as a community solidly backbone that has helped shape, coordinate, and also operate in our fields, and also have not just us being in the field, but also having a project-driven network where we're not just simply looking at just one issue of just transparency, but we're also integrating and having an ecosystem of all that concerns the environment and the community. Ladies and gentlemen, we are stepping into a new phase, one that calls for deeper collaboration, fresh ideas, and strong commitment. While challenges will arise, of course, we cannot run away from them. We are confident that with the support of our partners, the dedication of our team, and the strength of the communities we serve, we will achieve our shared goals. Today, I invite you all not just to witness this transition, but to be a part of it. Let's today not just be remembered as a launch, but as a renewed movement for justice, a movement for equity, a movement for sustainable development. Together, let us build Nigeria where resource justice is not just an inspiration, but a reality. Of course, long live Resource Justice Network Nigeria. God bless you all, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We did not just change our name. We are going to make impact. That's what I heard. I believe you heard too. It's not just a change of name, it's a change in partnership. So, we are expecting a video message from the National Global Secretariat. Is it ready? Okay. Then we'll have to go for the goodwill messages. And we'll start with our founding national coordinator of Publish What You Pay, Reverend David Ugolo. You're welcome, sir.
I would like to stand on a existing order, and then also again recognize the Executive Secretary of the team and friends, colleagues, distinguished guests, partners, colleagues in civil society, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to address you today at this important gathering, marking the launch of the Resource Justice Network Nigeria 2025 to 2028 Strategy and Partners Dialogue. I bring a warm greetings from the African Network for Environment, Economic Justice and Edge. I am particularly honored to stand before you as the founding national coordinator of Publish What You Pay campaign Nigeria. Not just Nigeria, I think we were the first to establish this campaign in the continent, Africa. And we also mentor quite a number of chapters across Europe. This movement is both cyclical and reflective. When we began the Publish What You Pay campaign in Nigeria, our objective was very clear: to promote transparency, accountability, and citizen participation in governance of our natural resources. We believed then, as we still do now, that Nigerians' resources wealth, if properly managed, could serve as a foundation for sustainable development and shared prosperity. Over the years, our collective efforts have contributed to important reforms, particularly the strengthening of transparency frameworks, such as Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, NETI. One of the most powerful outcomes of this work has been the value that NETI data has brought to Nigeria. The availability of credible oil revenue data has provided a critical insight into how our economy is managed. It has helped to deepen public understanding, inform policy discussions, empower citizens and institutions to demand greater accountability. These gains underscore the importance of transparency as a tool for development. However, transparency alone is not sufficient. Despite progress, the challenge of resource poverty persists, and many Nigerians, especially those in resource-rich communities, have yet to experience the full benefit of our natural wealth. It is in this context that the transition to the Resource Justice Network Nigeria is both timely and necessary. The shift towards a broader resource justice framework reflects an evolution in thinking, and one that goes beyond transparency to emphasize equity, inclusion, environmental sustainability, and the fair distribution of benefit. If we had to effectively tackle the challenge of resource poverty in our country, the Resource Justice campaign will undoubtedly play a pivotal role. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely appreciate the donor community for their consistent support and partnership over these years. Your contributions have been vital in building and sustaining this movement. As the network enters this new phase, I encourage you to continue supporting the new leadership as they steer this important transition and implement 2025 to 2028 strategy. As a founding national coordinator, I remain committed to supporting this campaign and contributing to its continued growth and impact. The journey ahead will require strong collaboration, innovation, and a steadfast commitment to the principles that have guided us thus far. Let me conclude by commending the leadership of the Resource Justice Network Nigeria and all members of organizations for their resilience and dedication. I also want to thank the Native, their life partners. Where we go, they go, and where they go, they go. I am confident that this new chapter will further strengthen our collective efforts to ensure that Nigeria's natural resources truly benefit us, particularly the most vulnerable ones. Again, thank you for your attention, and I wish you a successful and
Please, it is not easy to be a founding national coordinator and the association or the network after many years is still standing strong. Even upon some turbulence, but it's still standing strong. Please, may we put our hands together firmly and warmly. I even thought it should have been a standing ovation. It is not easy. That's the truth. It's not easy. Thank you, Reverend David. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Please, let me also recognize the presence of, I call her name in full, Obialonama Ayodele. She's in the house. Former co-chair OGP. Thank you, ma'am. I'm wondering why Barrister Lydia Ode still decided to stay behind. We need to see, because some of us may need to write proposals. So, okay, thank you, thank you. So, we will continue with the process as we go into shortly some goodwill messages before the meat of the matter. So, may we call the representative of the Executive Secretary, Nigeria Strategic Industry Transparency Initiative, NATI, Dr. Dita Pasi. Yes. I didn't see the yes. Seriously, problem. Please, sir. I hope I didn't break protocols. If I did, forgive me. I'll come to the office and take this mission. Sorry.
McDonald's artists come. Yes,
good morning. I want to start on the existing protocol. Good morning. But McDonald, let me bail you out. I'm also being indoctrinated into a regimented life. By virtue of being a member of MIPS, we had gone through a regimented lifestyle of 1 year, and so we militarized. One of the things is that when your principal is around, you have to yield the floor to him. Unfortunately for me, when my principal came in, I yielded the floor to him, but he also gave me a direct order that he has not accepted the yield of floor to him, and insisted that I must make the goodwill message on his behalf. So I'm standing here, not as Dita Pasi, but as representative of the secretary. who is seated here, but has been mandated me to stand on his behalf to provide to give him good message. Let me start on the existing protocol, as I rightly said. Publish What You Pay Nigeria was launched in 2004 and has supported effectively EITI implementation, including the application of the data. Today we are witnessing the transformation of Publish What You Pay to Resource Justice Network. This coalition works to build the capacity of civil society actors in understanding the EITI process and disseminating the findings from our report, which we all know and alluded to it. It also supports public debate of established sector governance reforms and helps disseminate the EITI report in subnationals, to the subnationals. NATO will continue to partner and work with this network in deepening and broadening the civil space and in demanding for transparency and accountability in the service resource utilization in Nigeria. Here, on behalf of the NSWG, which Publish What You Pay is inherently part of the management and staff, I extend a good message and best wishes to this transformation. It's my prayer that as we transform to this new phase, all the goals and achievements and the objectives, you succeed in it. That's my prayer for you. And thank you. We'll always continue to partner and rely on Publish What You Pay. Resource Justice Network, and continue to work with you, which is symbiotic because our relationship is symbiotic. We cannot work without you and you cannot work without us. And we say that this is, I hope the journey will continue to be like as it is, and we look forward to a much more equitable work. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Basi. He said I'm off the hook. But the NC also put me on another hook. And so may I respectfully call on the Executive Secretary of NATI, Honorable Ada, to be decorated with our pin, and that will be done by the chair of the board of Resource Justice Network, Dr. Mustafa Muhammad. Please, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
No. Maybe it's better out there. Because I'm not pushing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Leah.
Thank you very much. Yes, welcome. Welcome. Thank you. So I use this opportunity to call on the representative of Resource Justice Network, the Secretariat, the International Secretariat, and who is also in charge of the African region, Vincent Ekoro, to please just come and give us some words. You're welcome, Vincent.
Distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, and members of Resource Justice Network Nigeria, on behalf of the National Secretariat, it's both an honor and a privilege to be here standing before you all this morning. For us, it's a milestone since we rebranded in September from Publish What You Pay to Resource Justice Network globally, and also launching a new strategy. And I must commend Resource Justice Network Nigeria for this event. In Africa, this is the first network or national coalition that has officially adopted the new name, the website, the logo, the colors, and everything. So please, a better round of applause for them. Thank you so much. Nigeria is a very important country for us as a network, and we're in the extractive space. And one of the things that we've been yearning for is for Nigeria to really show leadership and take its rightful place to lead the work that we're doing on the continent. And I'm really proud as a Nigerian one and as one who coordinates the network in the region to see the improvements that have been made from what we had the past 2-3 years to now see where we are now. It's been a huge work that has gone into rebuilding this coalition to what it is now. And I also just want to commend Dr. Risa and the entire steering committee of Social Justice Network Nigeria for the amazing work that you've done. And at the Secretariat, we're really proud to be associated with the work and really committed to fostering this partnership and continue to build the coalition to what it is here. So on behalf of the International Secretariat, the Executive Director, Kay, who couldn't give our video recording because she's currently at school and we couldn't get her to do it, but we're really pleased. The Secretariat is really happy what's going on in Nigeria and would be writing you officially just to say thank you. I don't want to take much of the time, but just say a big thank you to everyone for all the work that's been going on. Thanks.
A round of applause for him. Thank you so much for thanking us, and we'll keep on going higher and higher. Still on keynote on goodwill messages. I'm not seeing him.
His representatives.
Okay, the executive director of CISLA, Ogara.
Good morning to everyone. I also stand on the existing protocol. Ralph just left now that I should read this on his behalf, and it goes as follows. Goodwill messages by Awal Musa Ramsajani, Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, Transparency International Nigeria, at the Strategy Launch and Partnership Dialogue on Resource Justice in Nigeria, Wednesday, 22nd April 2026. Distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to deliver this good message. Goodwill message on behalf of CISLAC and TI Nigeria at the important strategy launch and partnership dialogue on resource justice in Nigeria. We welcome the leadership of Resource Justice Network in Nigeria, particularly Dr. Irisa Danla, who is also our CSO representative on Haiti, for bringing together key stakeholders at a time when the question of resource justice has become both urgent and unaffordable. Nigeria is richly endowed with natural resources, yet the benefits of these resources have not translated to equitable development, improved livelihoods, or sustainable prosperity for many of our citizens. This paradox underscores the importance of today's engagement. Resource justice is not only about how resources are extracted, it is fundamentally about how they are governed, who benefits, and how decisions are made. It is about transparency, accountability, environmental sustainability, and the protections of human rights. It is also about ensuring that communities, particularly those directly affected by extractive activities, are not marginalized, but are active participants in decision-making process. At CISLAC, TI Nigeria, we believe that corruption remains one of the most significant barriers to achieve resource justice. Weak institutions, opaque contracting processes, illicit financial flows, and lack of accountability mechanisms continue to undermine the sector. Addressing these challenges require a collective action, political and popular will, and sustained engagement from government, civil society, the private sector, and the development partners. This strategy launch presents an opportunity to chart a new course, one that prioritizes inclusive governance, strengthens oversight institutions, promotes open data and transparency in the extractive sector, and ensure that the revenues are managed in a way that benefits all Nigerians. He further said it is also an opportunity to deepen partnership, share knowledge, and build a unified front in advancing reforms. He moved on to say, we encourage all stakeholders to move beyond commitment to concrete actions, including strengthening legal and policy framework, enforcing compliance, protecting civic space, and ensuring that anti-corruption efforts are integrated into resource governance at all levels. We must not lose sight of the environmental and social dimension of resource justice. Communities directly affected by resource extractions must receive fair compensation, remediation for environmental damage, and access to sustainable development opportunities. Justice must be both economic and ecological. In conclusion, as we engage today's dialogue, let us remain guided by a shared vision of a Nigeria where resources serve the people, where governance is transparent and accountable, and where development is inclusive and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that every voice, every interaction actually needs a voice for changing perspectives and inspiring action. This is what we've been doing all morning. And now it's time for the keynote address. And it's going to be given by a man whose work has seen it all, shown it all, and done it all. When he's done this morning, you will agree with me that he has seen it all. The keynote address is from extraction to equity, reimagining resource justice in Nigeria's energy transition. And our keynote address deliverer, speaker, is Dr. Otive Igbuzor, the founding executive director, Sector LSD.
Thank you very much, Masters, Director of Ceremony. As has been announced, the title of the keynote address from extraction to equity, reimagining resource justice in Nigeria's energy transition. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, policymakers, development partners, representatives of civil society, academia, private sector, and community leaders. I am deeply honored to address this important gathering at a defining moment in Nigeria's history. We stand at the intersection of two powerful global and national imperatives: the urgent need for energy transition and the equally urgent demand for justice in the governance of our natural resources. This moment compels us to ask fundamental questions. What kind of transition are we pursuing? Who benefits from this transition? And perhaps, most importantly, will this transition correct the historical injustice embedded in our extractive economy? Or will it reproduce them in new and more subtle forms? Nigeria's energy transition must go beyond the argument of a technical shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Rather, it must be understood as a profound socio-economic and political transformation. And at its core, it's a question of justice. Resource justice, environmental justice, and social justice. The theme of this keynote address, from extraction to equity, is therefore both timely and necessary for rethinking our developmental trajectory. What is the legacy of extraction in Nigeria? Nigerian development history is deeply intertwined with extraction. From crude oil to solid minerals, the country has relied heavily on the exploitation of natural resources as the backbone of its economy. Yet, this reliance has produced a paradox: immense wealth alongside persistent poverty, particularly in resource-rich regions. The end result is what I call arrested development. Revenues are generated, budgets are passed, monies are spent, contractors and people who sell influence. I want to emphasize that. There are a lot of people in Nigeria, the only work they do is sell influence. They don't work. They don't even do the work. They get contract and sell the contract. So why contractors and people who sell influence make more money, but it is not reflected in the lives of ordinary citizens? The Niger Delta stands as the most compelling illustration of this contradiction. Despite decades of oil production, the region continues to suffer from environmental degradation, underdevelopment, and socio-political marginalization. Communities that have been primary beneficiaries of resource wealth have instead become the burden of environmental destruction, including pollution, loss of biodiversity, and disruption of livelihood. The places that have oil in the Niger Delta host the poorest people in the region. Empirical evidence of gas flaring reveals several severe health and environmental consequences, including air pollution, acid rain, and declining agricultural productivity. These are the light realities affecting millions of Nigerians. This situation is rooted in an extractive political economy characterized by resource costs, prebendalism, elite capture, weak institutions, conflict, and limited community participation. As development scholars have long argued, nations fail when institutions are extractive rather than inclusive. Nigeria's challenge, therefore, is not merely one of resource abundance, but of governance. We now turn to energy transition, opportunity and risk. The global push for energy transition presents Nigeria with both an opportunity and a risk. On one hand, it offers the possibility of diversifying the economy, reducing carbon emissions, and improving energy access. On the other hand, it risks replicating existing inequalities if not carefully managed. Nigeria faces a striking paradox. While it is a major energy producer, Millions of these citizens lack access to reliable electricity. Energy poverty remains widespread, particularly in rural communities. This paradox underscores the need for a transition that prioritizes access, affordability, and sustainability. Many upper and middle class families in Nigeria have at least 3 sources of electricity in their homes: solar, inverter, generator, and PAC. Only very few people can afford such luxury. In fact, if you are in band A, even the PSCM is a luxury. You know, we load 20,000 and it finishes in 1 day. However, there is also the emerging risk of green extractivism, where renewable energy projects replicate patterns of exclusion and exploitation seen in the fossil sector. Large-scale renewable energy investments can lead to land dispossession and marginalization if communities are not properly engaged. Thus, the energy transition must not be approached as a purely technological shift. It must be grounded in principles of equity and justice. It must be noted that the current global discourse on energy transition often tends to overstate the immediacy and dominance of green energy, overlooking the enduring structural importance of fossil fuel in the global energy system. Recent geopolitical development, particularly the ongoing US-Israel-Iran conflict and the disruption of the Strait of Hormuz, have once again underscored the centrality of oil and gas to global economic stability. The Strait of Hormuz alone accounts for roughly 1/5 of global oil and liquefied natural gas flows, making it the most critical energy checkpoint in the world. Its partial or complete closure has already removed up to 12 to 13 million barrels per day from global supply, triggering price spikes, supply shortages, and widespread economic ripple effects. Such disruptions reveal that despite rapid investment in renewable, and this is the argument, the global economy remains deeply dependent on fossil fuels for transportation, industry, and energy security. Indeed, the crisis is prompting renewed investment in oil production, storage, and strategic reserves, reflecting a pragmatic recognition that fossil fuel will remain indispensable in the medium term. While green energy will continue to grow, the realities of infrastructure limitations, intermittency challenges, and uneven global access suggest that fossil fuel will remain a critical component of the global energy mix for decades to come, particularly as nations prioritize reliability and security in an increasingly volatile geopolitical environment. Understanding resource justice. To move from extraction to equity, we must clearly define resource justice. Resource justice involves the fair distribution of benefits and burdens, inclusive decision-making processes, and recognition of the rights and identities of affected communities. This aligns closely with the concept of inclusive development, which emphasizes political, economic, social, and cultural inclusion. Inclusive development is essential for sustainable and legitimate development outcomes. Resource justice also requires confronting historical injustices. Many of the challenges facing resource-rich communities today are rooted in decades of neglect and exploitation. Addressing these challenges require a commitment to restorative justice, decolonizing the energy transition. Any meaningful discussion on resource justice in Africa must engage with the question of decolonization. The structure of Nigeria's extractive economy is deeply influenced by colonial legacies which prioritize resource extraction for external benefit rather than local development. Post-colonial development models have often perpetuated these patterns through dependency on global markets. The result is limited local control over resources and decision-making processes. For instance, only very few people from the Niger Delta own oil wells in Nigeria, when all the oils are concentrated in the Niger Delta. And the few are even errand boys and front for the oligarchy and metropolitan capital. Decolonizing the energy transition involves reclaiming agency. It means designing policies that reflect local realities, leveraging indigenous knowledge systems, and prioritizing citizen well-being over external interests. It also requires challenging global power imbalances that shape the flow of resources, finance, and technology. As scholars have noted, sustainable development in Africa must be rooted in justice, equity, and local ownership. Governance, institutions, and political economy of resource justice. At the heart of Nigerian transition, from extraction to equity, lies the question of governance. The persistent failure to translate resource wealth into broad-based development is fundamentally a governance problem, rooted in weak institutions, entrenched corruption, elite captured, and limited accountability. The way corruption is run in Nigeria today is only very foolish people that get caught. Because nobody transfers money through accounts. They change the money into dollars and stack the dollars in their houses and go to bureau de change to change them and use as they deem necessary. As demonstrated in Nigeria's political economy, extractive institutions have historically concentrated power and resources in the hands of a few, thereby perpetuating inequality and underdevelopment. The Nigerian state has often struggled with what can be described as a dual crisis: the crisis of capacity and the crisis of legitimacy. If you have worked in many government institutions, you'll be amazed at the level of capacity. So when some people say that there is too much capacity building program, they don't understand the level and the depth of capacity across various places. And regulatory agencies have now become another avenue for primitive accumulation of wealth by those who run the agencies. And we see it in their lifestyle. Evidence of governance studies underscores that inclusive governance characterized by participation, transparency, and accountability is essential for sustainable development. Ultimately, the transition to equity requires a transformation of institutions from extractive to inclusive. Institutions that promote broad-based participation, enforce accountability, and ensure that resource wealth benefits all citizens. The Niger Delta provides critical lessons for Nigeria's energy transition. It highlights the consequences of excluding communities from resource governance and the dangers of prioritizing revenue over sustainability. One key lesson is the importance of participation. Communities must not be treated as balanced, as passive beneficiaries, but as active stakeholders in decision-making processes. Initiatives such as the Niger Delta Convergence, demonstrate the power of community-driven advocacy and participatory governance. Restorative justice in the Niger Delta demands a deliberate shift from decades of extractive exploitation to a framework that prioritizes environmental repair, accountability, and community restitution, especially in the context of the gradual exit of international oil companies without fully remediating ecological damage. The UNEP report revealed extensive and systemic contamination of oil and groundwater, recommending a comprehensive cleanup program, long-term health monitoring, and the establishment of the Environmental Restoration Fund of at least $1 billion. In response, HYPREP was established and has initiated remediation, livelihood support, and potable water projects. However, progress has been uneven and slower than expected relative to the scale of devastation. Meanwhile, other impacted areas of the Niger Delta have not been touched. Similarly, the Bayelsa State Oil and Environmental Commission report documents widespread ecological degradation and loss of livelihood and governance failures, calling for reparation, stronger regulatory enforcement, and transition to post-oil economy. These findings on the imperative for restorative justice mechanism go beyond technical cleanup to include compensation for affected communities, institutional reforms, corporate accountability, and inclusive participation of local population in decision making. As the IOCs divest from onshore assets, there is an urgent need to ensure that environmental liabilities are not transferred without remediation, and that the principle of polluter pays and intergenerational equity are upheld. Ultimately, restorative justice in the Niger Delta must integrate ecological restoration with social and economic redress, thereby transforming a legacy of environmental injustice into a pathway for sustainable development. Community participation, localization, and social inclusion. A central pillar of resource justice is meaningful community participation. Historically, resource-rich communities in Nigeria, particularly in the Niger Delta, have been excluded from decision-making processes despite bearing environmental and social costs of extraction. These exclusions has fueled grievances, conflict, and distrust between communities, government, and corporations. The principle of localization offers a pathway for addressing this challenge. Effective community communication entails co-creation of policies, shared ownership of projects, and equitable distribution of benefits. Thus, moving from extraction to equity requires a deliberate commitment to localization and inclusion, ensuring that development is not only for the people, but also by the people. In addition, there is the need to reimagine resource justice. Reimagining resource justice requires a fundamental transformation of governance structures. This includes reforming legal framework, strengthening institutions, and promoting transparency. Nigerian governance challenges, corruption, weak institutions, and limited citizen participation are well documented. Addressing these challenges is essential for achieving a just energy transition. There is also the need to rethink resource control, moving from centralized systems that were justified by the civil war strategy of the Niger Delta people to a more participatory governance structure can enhance accountability and equity. Environmental sustainability and climate justice. Environmental sensibility is a critical dimension of resource justice. Nigeria's extractive economy has left a legacy of environmental degradation, particularly in oil-producing regions. Gas flaring, oil spills, and deforestation have had devastating impact on ecosystem, livelihood, and public health. Empirical studies on gas flaring in Nigeria highlight its severe environmental and health consequences, including air pollution, acid rain, and increased incidence of respiratory diseases. These environmental injustices disproportionately affect vulnerable communities, raising important questions about equity and accountability. To translate the vision of resource justice into reality, Nigeria must adopt clear policy priorities. First, there is a need for a decentralized, community-centered energy system. Off-grid and mini-grid solutions can expand access to underserved populations. Second, benefit sharing mechanism must ensure that local communities gain from resource extraction and energy investment. Third, environmental restoration must be prioritized, including cleanup effect and compensation for affected communities. Fourth, gender and social inclusion must be mainstream, ensuring that women, youth, persons with disability, the poor and marginalized groups are central to policy design. Economic diversification and inclusive development. Nigeria's dependence on extractive resources has limited its economic diversification and constrained its development potential. The energy transition provides a unique opportunity to restructure the economy, reduce dependence on fossil fuels, and promote inclusive growth. Economic diversification involves expanding into sectors such as renewable energy, agriculture, manufacturing, and services. This not only reduces vulnerability to external shocks, but also creates new opportunities for employment and innovation. However, diversification must be inclusive, ensuring that its benefits are widely shared across society. The role of leadership. Leadership is central to achieving a just energy transition. Nigeria requires visionary leadership that prioritizes transparency, accountability, and inclusivity. As argued in the development literature, leadership is the linchpin of national development, shaping policies and strategies that drive progress. Leadership is the single most decisive variable in determining whether nations successfully navigate complex transformations such as the shift from an extractive to an equitable sustainable development model. Across history and development practice, countries that have achieved structural transformation, whether in East Asia or parts of Latin America, have done so not merely because of resource endowment or technological advancement, but because of the presence of visionary, ethical leadership. Yeah, then we switch to the next power source that we talked about earlier. You have to have 3 of them. So across history and development practice, countries that have achieved structural transformation, whether in East Asia or parts of Latin America, have done so not merely because of resource endowment or technological advancement, but because of the presence of visionary, ethical, and competent leadership, capable of mobilizing society toward a shared national purpose. As has been consistently argued in development scholarship, leadership shapes institutions, defines priorities, allocates resources, and ultimately determines whether governance systems serve narrow elite interest or the broader public good. In the Nigerian context, the centrality of leadership is even more pronounced given the country's paradox of abundant natural resources alongside persistent poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment. This paradox reflects not a failure of resources, but a failure of leadership and governance. Leadership determines whether institutions are inclusive or extractive, whether policies are evidence-based or politically expedient, and whether development is people-centered or elite-driven. As noted in broader analysis of development, Nigeria's development challenges, ineffective leadership has contributed to weak institutions, corruption, policy inconsistency, and exclusionary governance, thereby undermining sustainable development outcomes. Transformational leadership can change all of this. Transformational leadership can lead to institutional development. Transformational leadership can bring ethics into government. Transformational leadership can bring inclusive governance. And transformational leadership can help in managing change and transition from extraction to equity. And transformational leadership can lead to coalition building, accountability, and capacity development, as we have mentioned earlier. So, what are the pathways to equity? What are our policy recommendations and strategic actions? Achieving resource justice in Nigeria's energy transition requires a comprehensive and coordinated approach. Based on the analysis above, several strategic pathways can be identified. First, there is the need to strengthen governance and institutional framework. These include enhancing transparency, accountability, and regulatory capacity in the energy sector. Anti-corruption measures, institutional reform, and evidence-based policy making are critical to building trust and ensuring effective implementation. Second, community participation and localization must be institutionalized. Mechanisms for stakeholder engagement should be embedded in the policy processes, ensuring that communities have a voice in decisions that affect them. This also requires capacity building for local actors to effectively participate in governance processes. Third, environmental sustainability and climate justice must be prioritized. Policy should address environmental degradation, promote clean energy, and protect vulnerable communities. These include enforcing environmental regulations, investing in renewable energy, and adopting climate-resistant development strategies. Fourth, economic diversification should be accelerated through targeted investment and policy incentives. These include supporting renewable energy industries, promoting innovation, and creating an enabling environment for private sector participation. Fifth, social inclusion must be at the core of all interventions. Policies should address gender inequality, youth unemployment, and social exclusion, ensuring that all groups benefit from the energy transition. Sixth, transformational leadership is essential. Leadership plays a decisive role in shaping development outcomes, influencing policy direction, and mobilizing stakeholders for change. Effective leaders must be visionary, ethical, and committed to inclusive and sustainable development. Finally, a central recommendation arising from this analysis is the imperative for active participation in politics. Civil society and social movement organizing as a foundation for building a national developmentalist coalition capable of driving Nigerian transition from extraction to equity. Development experience across the world shows that transformative change does not occur through technocratic reforms alone. It requires organized citizens, reform-minded political actors, and broad-based coalitions that can shape policy, hold leaders accountable, and sustain reform momentum. Participation in formal politics is essential because political power ultimately determines the allocation of resources, the design of policies, and the direction of national policy. When progressive, competent, and development-oriented actors withdraw from politics, the space is often captured by charlatans, narrow interests, thereby perpetuating extractive governance. At the same time, civil society organizations and social movements play a critical complementary role by mobilizing citizens, amplifying marginalized voices, generating evidence, and advocating for transparency and accountability. They serve as the conscience of society and as catalysts for reform, ensuring that governance processes remain inclusive and responsive. Social movement organizing, in particular, is vital for building popular power and sustaining pressure for structural change, especially in contexts as we have in Nigeria, where entrenched interests resist reform. As highlighted in development scholarship and practice, the synergy between state actors, civil society, and the private sector is critical for achieving sustainable development outcomes. The concept of a national developmentalist coalition therefore becomes indispensable. Such a coalition will bring together political leaders, technocrats, civil society actors, private sector stakeholders, labor, youth, women groups, and community representatives around a shared vision of inclusive and sustainable development. Its purpose will be to align interests, coordinate action, and build consensus on key reforms, particularly in sectors such as energy, governance, and economic diversification. This coalition must be anchored on shared values of equity, accountability, and long-term national interest, transcending narrow ethnic, religion, and partisan divides. In practical terms, this requires deliberate effort to encourage citizens, especially young people and professionals, to overcome apathy and engage actively in the political process, whether through party politics, policy advocacy, or public service. It also requires strengthening civil society capacity, fostering networks of social movement, and creating platforms for dialogue and collaboration among stakeholders. Ultimately, without broad-based participation and coalition building, the aspiration of moving from extraction to equity will remain elusive. But with a vibrant national developmentalist coalition, Nigeria can mobilize the collective energy, ideas, and resources needed to achieve transformational and inclusive development. The journey from extraction to equity is complex and multifaceted, requiring a paradigm shift in governance, policy, and practice. It demands a move away from exploitative models of resource management towards inclusive, sustainable, and justice-oriented approaches. Nigeria today stands at a critical juncture. The choices made today will determine whether the energy transition becomes a pathway to equity or a continuation of historical injustices. By embracing embracing inclusive governance, environmental sustainability, and economic diversification, Nigeria can chart a new course. One that ensures that these vast resources benefit all its citizens. Achieving a just energy transition requires collective action. Government, private sector, civil society, and communities all have critical roles to play. Government must provide the policy direction. The private sector must invest responsibly. Civil society must advocate for justice. Communities must actively participate in governance processes. In conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the journey from extraction to equity is not easy, but it is necessary. The energy transition offers Nigeria a unique opportunity to redefine its development trajectory. Ultimately, the success of this transition will not be measured by the amount of energy produced, but how equitably its benefits are distributed. So today, let us therefore commit to building a future where our resources serve the many and not the few parasitic political elite, where development is inclusive and where justice is at the heart of the energy transition. Thank you very much for this.
Please, another round of applause for him. At least for the past 35 minutes or more, he has given us some insight of what should be done so that we get the kind of leadership we need to ensure just resource justice in Nigeria. I want to tell you that it is time for networking. If since you came this morning, you come in at least 5 new friends. Now is the time. So make your new friends. Yeah. So as we are coming out to take our pictures, your neighbor, you must have known his or her name and where she's coming from. Please sit here. For pictures, you need seats here. If you're still seated, you're not my friend again. Apart from the people sitting in front of me here,
wants this one?
May we?
Go back.
You need to go back.
Almost there. Just to get it. So excuse me. So we said. You're smiling to me. So we said. Yes. So on 3, 1.
Justice Network Nigeria. Extracting the truth.
Excuse me?
From publish what to pay to Resource Justice Network.
This chair is that. The chair is picture. How are you going to do it?
Video.
I have to go.
Who is doing it?
I am.
From publisher to pay to Resource Justice Network. Resource Justice Network.
Sir, excuse me. Sir, come.
Resource Justice Network. Home of